Welcome team, really lovely to see you all. We're delighted to have you here. Welcome to the semi-finals. Floor is yours.
Hi, so my name's Alvin. So we know that 4.3 million children, that's 30%, are in poverty in the UK. And 3.6 million of these are in separated families. Somewhere amongst the statistics could be our friends, our neighbours, or even our family members. We are now navigating through what's been one of the toughest economic climates in our lifetime. So when a caseworker picks up the phone to a customer, we are all too aware of the role we play in supporting our customers who are struggling financially, and some more than others. Frustration played a big part in me applying to take part in the data challenge, because I felt that we as an organisation was not doing enough and could do better to assess fairly the income of the paying parent. We have an opportunity to rid the frustration and the complexity of completing an income assessment for the self-employed. We have the opportunity to speed up the process for our customers and an opportunity to increase productivity.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm a complex caseworker with the Child Maintenance Service. One of the challenges we face in deciding how much maintenance a paying parent should pay is establishing their income. This is essential to ensure that we're not asking paying parents to pay more than they can afford, and so that receiving parents get the amount they're entitled to. In 2018, the Child Maintenance Service was given access to real-time earnings information via the RTI interface with HMRC. This has proved to be hugely beneficial to the service we provide, allowing us to make timely, accurate income decisions without needing clerical evidence. We'd now like to further our relationship with HMRC and improve the customer journey for those people relying on self-employed assessments. We believe this will result in a better experience for our customers and get the right amount of money flowing to children. It will also help us to reduce complaints and increase compliance.
Thank you. I'm Gemma. I work for the DWP in the fraud department. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our solution. So we've worked with people across government departments to find a solution that's going to improve parents' experiences with our child maintenance system. We are proposing that data on self-employed earnings collected by HMRC is shared with child maintenance officers to speed up their processing. This will enable us to help parents who can be in financial distress pay and receive the right amount of money for their children promptly. Now, we've discovered that the information needed to do this is in fact shared between departments, but it's in the background. So we don't currently utilise it to progress changes or resolve disputes. Now, we believe that this process can be automated. So with our changes, a parent will be able to log on to the portal, declare a change of self-employed earnings. The system can then automatically check whether what they've provided matches our data, and then automatically process that change. So this is going to be better for the parents, but also better for us. So we have worked with partners across DWP and HMRC to map out our digital systems, identify possible barriers, and scope out possibilities. We've established proof of concept, and we've confirmed that the technical requirements can be delivered. Our proposal is ethically sound. There's no new data to be shared externally, and that allows us to focus on really delivering great customer service. Together, we've discovered that a wealth of data is shared in the background between government departments. And our aim is to be smarter about how we tap into that information, enabling us to manage a really great service for people who really do need our help. Now I'd like to show you a short video from our sponsor, Chris Smith, which should be on the screen now.
Hi, so my name's Chris Smith. I'm one of the Deputy Directors for the Child Maintenance Service, and I'm here today to enthusiastically sponsor and support this initiative that was instigated by Alvin Dupree as he looks to explore the boundaries of data sharing between CMG and HMRC. Why is it important? So CMG is a complex service. It's critical to the agenda of reducing child poverty and is used by around 1 million customers each year. The point that I'd really kind of like to make here is that when people approach CMG, they're in very challenging parts of their personal lives. And what they absolutely need is certainty about the amount of money that is due to be paid between one parent and another. And what quality data shared between government departments offers us in CMG is the opportunity to give customers that certainty. Even if it's the answer that they sometimes don't like, the fact that we've got quality, clear data that's recognised across government helps us to have strong conversations with those individuals to give them assurance that the amount that is going to be paid as part of their child maintenance is accurate and is fair. It works for the customer and it works for those caseworkers that have these very difficult conversations every single day, in our business. I think this is a fabulous idea. I think it's something we should absolutely look to explore and really push the boundaries of exploring the possibilities of data sharing to get the best outcomes for the users of CMG and the best outcomes for families and children that need this money. Many thanks.
Hi, my name's Kate Mastery and I work in business strategy at DWP. So let's think about the heart of the child maintenance system. It's about supporting and protecting children and their families. And as Alvin said at the beginning, children in lone parent families are more likely to face poverty. The nature of relationship breakdowns means that engagement with the child maintenance system can be very stressful. It can be very emotive. And our agents can often face misleading and conflicting information in their daily roles. And that can come from either parent involved. So our aim is to create a child maintenance system that's responsive and is fair to both parents involved. And as Chris said, our senior sponsor, to create that certainty for those people who are engaged with the system. Through that certainty, we can ensure that the correct, appropriate amounts are being paid, and that then boosts compliance with the system. Because we know from experience that where parents feel like, particularly paying parents, feel like they're being treated unfairly or being asked to pay what they think is too much money, they often disengage and sometimes stop paying entirely. Thinking about our agents and our colleagues who are involved in delivering child maintenance, through having access to this data as and when we need it, we can avoid the need for manual data checks. Some of those manual data checks, gathering that evidence, can take up to 6 weeks. But we have this information available in the background, we just need to access it when we need it. That will free up our agents to deal with those complex cases that do require care and investigation. So we want to use this information to build trust and to help avoid the conflict that can result or that can occur within the child maintenance system. Now, we're all being asked to do more with less, and we're all currently, both DWP and HMRC, responding to the Chancellor's ask and the Chancellor's efficiency and savings review. We feel confident that we can deliver, that the benefits we can deliver from accessing this data outweigh the process changes that we need to make. And we're proud that our idea isn't about getting new data, it's not about building new kit, it's about being smarter and utilising the data that we already have available to us as government. So our next steps are to work with our HMRC colleagues to run a 2-week discovery to identify how do we access this information and to build that user interface so our agents can access it. And we know through our work we've done, through the mapping we've done of our complex DWP and HMRC systems, we think there's further potential to access and better utilise data. And we're really excited to work with our HMRC partners to understand the further opportunities as we continue in the civil service data challenge.
Thank you. Great presentation. Right, who would like to kick us off with questions? Aiden, off you go.
Thank you guys, that was fantastic and it really resonated, so I really appreciate it. So I'm Aiden, I'm from HMRC. Before I was HMRC I used to work for DWP, so guess what, this is absolutely in my sweet spot. Can I just ask, what's been the biggest obstacle in terms of the data we're talking about? Is it around, what data do you guys need access to? Is it self-assessment data? What is it exactly? And what's been the challenge?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of obstacles that we've faced. I think firstly, first was the complexity of looking at our systems. And that's why having our HMRC partners was really crucial to map out those systems, to understand what data are we receiving, where is it going, which system is it feeding into, so we could understand how and whether we're accessing that data. What's interesting is one of Alvin's original ideas was accessing address data. And through our partnership, we actually realised we already received this data. We weren't really sure or confident that was already part of our processes and systems. So through accessing that information, sorry, I'm just being slightly distracted by the screen. One of the other teams working there. So that's one of the obstacles that we've identified is partly the complexity of the data, which we've worked through using kind of gathering together the experts to work with us. And then secondly, we've explored a number of other ideas as well.
And actually, as part of that process and why we need a discovery process on top of that, is that we found that there are certain fields on the system that are available through HMRC, but isn't taken out of that feed and utilised. So we think that for the future, there might be a lot we can do there, especially with regards to reducing error and fraud.
Alison?
Alison from ONS, thank you. The use case is very clear. And I suppose a bit like Aiden's question, in my head I'm thinking, okay, so what has previously stopped this and what needs to change differently? So it sounds like there is a technical environment that more or less is ready and ripe for further data to come in. Do you have all the support from sort of line management and leadership that really is saying, yeah, this would be great? Because that's where this feels like it needs to push, isn't it, as well? Can you say a little bit about leadership buy-in to what you're trying to do?
I suppose that's the beauty of this competition in a sense, because we've had, obviously it's not just 4 of us behind this. We've involved a delivery assurance team, transformation team, even our speech analytics team, going through phone calls. And again, I just got to emphasize the fact that we've had conversations and a collaboration with HMRC as well. That's helped enormously. I mean, previously I work on the shop floor, so I didn't really understand what it was like to have scores of different databases feed into one database, which is the NERS database, which then goes into the one which we all use, which is the SIS database, which is shared by us, CMG, Child Maintenance Service, and also by the Department of Work and Pensions, which is the job centres. So,
sorry, Alvin.
Yeah. So I was going to say was that there's lots of scope. There's not just for us. It's not just for CMG. We've identified with other areas as well the potential that it could be for them. So I'm quite excited about the next phase.
So I think in addressing your question, there is this idea that perhaps, we could just go ahead and do this. But I think as part of the process, we do realise actually it is going to be much bigger. I've spoken to our colleagues in IRIS to try and understand how they would like to use that data as well and how we could link this up to the UC system, in which case it becomes a bigger project and therefore we might need a little bit more support than it being departmental. So although we think we can implement the first stage of our idea, we would need support, but it's there and that might not be too difficult. I think when we want to think about joining up systems between the DWC, UC and other areas that as part of the discovery we might find we can use, then I think we might need the support of a bigger community or project.
One thing the panel have been talking about quite a bit is recognising what the kind of bite-sized, what the elephant-sized chunk to be able to make progress. And so keeping fairly focused on what is a very clear use case may get you further than what we can do is rebuild universal credit. And I suppose the reason for my question was, it's not that this can't be done, which is why it's not done. It's because in priority terms, both HMRC and DWP are incredibly busy doing an awful lot of stuff. So finding the way to bring this up that.
We think that because this information is shared between HMRC and DWP, that it can sit in the background and you can transform at different stages. So it would be possible to do our bite-sized transformation with CMG, but we could be mindful while we're doing that actually other departments or other sections of the DWP might also want that data. I've spoken to Financial Investigations, I've spoken to IRIS. From my point of view in ESOC, that information would be really useful to us. I can access that manually, but actually we would want it as intelligence to prevent fraud and to create red flags. So actually there's a really big opportunity in terms of error reduction and fraud potentially going forward. That's why we want to make it bigger.
And I recognise your point exactly. This is why for our presentation today we've focused in on what we want to do is access the data from HMRC as and when we need it to solve this one problem about getting clear evidence of paying parents' income. That's a quick fix that we think we can make now.
And if I can come in here, when we think about the way that HMRC passes on the data to you in real time, that's going to be valuable because you get the information. You talked about addresses. We have that. You have the business address, correspondence address, and the payer's address as well. So that is of value in the collaboration that we've established.
Yeah. Sorry, Simon from the Home Office. So you've done a fantastic job of bringing the opportunity to life for us. Put us in the shoes of the users of the capability that you're looking to deliver here. What's it going to look and feel like? Where's your vision as to where you can get to?
Can I ask, is that in terms of our agents and the work they do every day?
From an agent's point of view, talk through how it is for the agent in the new world that you're taking us to.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. So I think there's a couple of ways in which we could use it. Because we know this data is available, that we have a figure for trading income, which is essentially the same figure that would be on a self-assessed tax return. One of the ways we could use that is when, generally as a caseworker, you receive a service request. So something will pop up on your computer. And what we're sort of envisaging is there's a button there under there's an applet for self-employed income, which if you pressed it, would go off and see, is there a trading income available for a later tax year than the one we're already using? If it's available, we use it. If it's not available, then we'll issue a request for clerical evidence anyway, just to see if there is anything. But that's the first way we'd see us using it. The second way is if a paying parent, a lot of the requests we receive from paying parents, they're done via our portal, the My Child Maintenance Case, which is a self-service portal. And we think this would be a really good candidate for automation because unlike a lot of other changes of income, the figure we use is very simple. We just take the trading income figure which the paying parent has submitted when they return a self-assessed tax return. So it should be a prime candidate for automation. So why not have it so that if a paying parent goes onto My Child Maintenance Case, presses a button, the system just checks, is there a more recent figure for a more recent tax year available? And if it is, it just uses it and applies that to assessment.
And if I can add, through this process of the Civil Service Data Challenge, I've learned a lot about the experiences that Alvin and Paul work through as agents in the child maintenance system every day. Their roles are very stressful and complicated, and they have to deal with very vulnerable people every day. And so hopefully if this is one way we can kind of grease the cogs in a bigger machine to make their lives ease better and our customers' lives better, then I think there's some real wins to be had there.
And we do have a big staff turnover in CMG, as we've seen, so because it is a very distressing area to work in. And if we can manage those expectations, take the frustrations away from the customers, then perhaps we can make job satisfaction a little bit better for our employees as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi everybody, I'm Sue. Thank you so much. I thought it was a really powerful presentation. and hopefully you being here is kind of helping raise the visibility at the very least for this issue. I think the thing that, having listened to the presentation a bit more from the initial entry and then listened to the conversation, the thing that I think is potentially exciting about this, beyond actually being able to transform the interactions between the agents and the vulnerable customers, is the notion of there's data that is by agreement flowing between departments. It's been flowing for a particular purpose, though the data that's being kind of provided is bigger than the data that's being used. And whether this could become a little bit of a blueprint then for reuse of data without having to go back every time for another agreement, because that's something we've been talking about in the breaks today. So that's maybe, because you were talking about other potential cases in the pipeline, it's worth, as you work through the development of this one, just understanding whether that genuinely is the case, or whether there are any bits of barriers that need to be overcome. Because if you're able to kind of crack this, I think from an operational perspective, it starts to kind of shed a new light or a new angle of us looking at how we share data for operational purposes. So
and that's why we started to get really excited when we
Yeah.
started to look at it more. Initially, it was quite confusing,
Yeah.
and then as our expertise built up, we did get quite excited about it, and we started reaching out to more and more business areas to see whether actually this principle, could work. And we just thought we don't want to just do something niche if it could benefit other areas. And I've been thinking that maybe we should also think about the Home Office and how their information might be able to cross over as well. That's probably with my fraud head coming on here and the amount of requests we make to the Home Office. I'm thinking there's probably something in the background we could do with that as well.
Yeah.
That's sort of a sideline issue. We want to deliver, we're all focused on delivering the best that we can in this scenario. But it is exciting to think that we could really, really make a big difference in the future.
Yeah. And our secret weapon isn't here today. So a gentleman called John Bullen from HMRC, who's actually been seconded into DWP before. So in his head, he has these maps of our systems, and he literally drew them on a board one day for us in one of our workshops. And it was him having the knowledge across both departments in his, and they really helped to bring this to life and help us to identify the possibilities.
I think he's quite disappointed he wasn't able to be here today, isn't he? But,
So just following that theme then, let's say you do get through to the final, what can we just expect to see at the final, do you think?
I think we'd like to show for the final that we've made progress with our idea that we're presenting today, and that we are working with our transformation colleagues in child maintenance, and we're pretty much on the verge of having that capability launched and available to our agents. And while doing that, we've also we've explored further, and we can narrow down the greater opportunities that we see for data access and use.
I think, sorry, I was going to say, speaking as a caseworker, somebody, I actually work on the shop floor as well, with customers who are phoning in every day. And, we mentioned about the figures for child poverty, and that's something I'd seriously like to see a dint in us going towards supporting that. That's quite a big motivator for myself personally.
I think for myself, I see us using data better. I see us transforming our services to our customers, whether they're within our departments or outside of the department, and also fulfilling our strategy in HMRC to be a first-class tax admission system.
And so just so I've made sure I've got this entirely clear in my head, and apologies for doing things, you already have the data. It's just literally the question of fitting it into the systems to make it to use in how you want to use it. And actually loads of other departments also have the data. So it's become it's not a data sharing issue, it's an implementation issue. Okay,
I
great.
think some of it's implementation, but that discovery that we want to do is going to give us more clarity. We know we can implement this, but we think it can be bigger. And so I think that is, in a few months' time, if we were to get through and come back, we'd be able to give you a lot more detail on that, having spoken to a lot more areas and found out what it is that they would need So we are getting people on board, and some of those conversations have been going on for a while, and some of them are more recent. So I've got a meeting with the Financial Investigation Unit next week. So we're assuming that we're going to be able to do something with this one way or another, because we're passionate about it and we're going to make it happen. But we would like to take it a step further as well.
I think we were promised that it would be live by the final, wasn't it?
I think we've got the data, and so.
I mean, that would be amazing.
So I think if we can crack, so we very much, we've had workshops, we've come up with so many ideas, and then we've had to kind of pull away and let's focus in on this idea, and that's what we're majoring on today for you. But we think all we need to do is just enable our agents to access that when they need to, rather than once a year as currently happens. So that's the change we need to make.
And it's going to save a lot of money in terms of man hours as well, with the automation, if we can get that through. Because it's so time consuming. You were saying that it's double checked, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, that's another factor. It's I don't know, because I deal with, I sort of help with the support line for caseworkers, and we often get questions around self-employment. They tend to be, whenever we're using clerical evidence rather than getting it from a system, there are always complications, there are always issues. So that some of the times we're receiving evidence and we can't use it for one reason or another. That ends up with frustrating customers, leading to complaints, leading to reconsiderations. But income decisions as a whole are complicated, and they take a long time. Every single income decision we do where a human being's involved, so a caseworker's involved, goes for a quality check, every single one of them. So it's not one person doing it, it's two. So accuracy checkers generally get through, I think, about 6 cases a day.
And there's 14,000 outstanding at the moment, isn't there?
In
14,000
one
outstanding for
centre,
change of incomes
national.
as a whole, yeah.
I'm going to give Alison 30
I'm going to be
seconds
really
to jump in with the last question.
But it's actually a statement, and I think keep grounded in the sweet spot here, because I think Sue's point is really valid. This is relatively easy because you've got yourself there, but don't go from relatively easy to let's fix the world. It's that template for how you get from relatively easy to a repeatable process that the real value will come through. If you can come back with that sort of template point, then that would be real value for this particular project.
And then that's how you get it out, totally.
Can I just add to that? Is if we've got the universal credit system, and that's been around for a long time now, and it's just been rolled out, if you like, for CMG to have access to that, to be able to use that as well. So that's an example of it being there. It's already been made, and now different departments slowly are taking it on board. And like Paul said earlier about the RTI system, was it 2018 we started using that system as well, and it's revolutionised the way we work in terms of automation, and this, you're right in what you're saying. This could well be a similar situation whereby it's just for CMG, but actually it has benefits to Job Centre with regards to universal credit, and the fact that they do not check the self-employed when they go in. They go in, they'll give a monthly statement of how much they're earning, and it's not checked. It could well be checked later on. So
they self-report, don't they? And that isn't checked at the moment. And actually, I work in ESOC, which is the Serious and Organised Crime, and we find that a lot of organised crime groups deliberately use self-employed data because they know it's not going to get checked, it's not going to be challenged. They don't have to go into, if they say they're self-employed, they don't have to go into a job centre. So they can commit abroad fraud, they can commit working, cash in hand fraud. So it enables an easy route. So we do think there is a value, and it wouldn't be difficult, I don't think, to extend it to the back end of the universal credit. So we are quite passionate about trying to look into that a little bit more as well.
Really, really great pitch, team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Yeah.